When she said I don't dance now, I make money moves, that was a mission statement for a whole new generation.
Respect, but that's not the Mount Rushmore. Listen, cash rules everything around me. When that line dropped, it changed the whole hustle. The greatest tracks are never finished. They're just debated forever. Introducing the Sprite Living Tracklist. 50 tracks that shape the culture from 6 decades of hip-hop. Scan the QR code on a Sprite or Sprite Zero Sugar to see the full breakdown. Obey your thirst. Sprite.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. The top 25 coaches preseason poll is out. For whatever that's worth, it's fun. Is it accurate? But it's fun. Four teams from the Big 12 in the top 25. BYU is at 15. Utah is at 21. Of course, Texas Tech is number 12. They're the highest seeded team. And then Houston slides in at 24. And other receiving votes are other teams. TCU is just outside the top 25. Arizona not very far outside the top 25 either. So there's some other teams. Oklahoma State actually got some votes too. So there's some other teams here that, if they play well, could pick up speed pretty quickly. Is 4 too much, too little, just right, or this is so meaningless you don't really care?
I think it has meaning. I don't think it's meaningless.
Nothing matters until the committee comes out with their stuff, but the committee stuff doesn't ever seem to be that far away from the coaches and media polls.
Well, I think for BYU, it establishes that you are a good program, and recruiting is selling. It's perception. And so that it's established expectation. And I'm going to go there because they're a good program. And they prove it all the time. And you have to prove it, but, it puts it out there. And then, so like if BYU say they have a bad season and somebody goes down or whatnot, okay, well, yeah, it's the same thing that we did with the Utes when they had their couple of subpar seasons, one in which they won 8 games, which isn't bad, but then the next season. And so you want to keep that momentum going. And, if you are not ranked and you're not on the radar at all and you have a 5-7 season, it's because you suck. So, yeah, you can sell these things. You're looking for every little bit to sell. And now you have to sell them to your boosters and you have to sell them to the donors and all those things. So everything matters. And you can blow it off, and sure, the one at the end is more important, but they all matter. And it establish the expectation for the team. They believe they're good. Half the battle is believing. And it's harder to come from nowhere and rise up.
Wade says polls mean little for about the first month. And if the storyline is the season and the playoffs, yes, I get your point. And I think what you just said, PK, has to be underscored. Put the exclamation point on it. You never stop fundraising. Ever. Multiple people working on that year-round. In the case of you, creating a company to work on it year-round. So they're going to be out pitching every day of every week. And now they got something to talk about.
Yes.
And they've got to raise money today. They got to raise money next week. It never stops. We had Robbie Bosco used to do it. He doesn't anymore. But the quarterback turned assistant coach turned fundraiser.
That's President Bosco to you.
Yeah, right? He was telling us on the air. He said, yeah, you bring in a big donation, and it's back slaps and high fives. And you know what you got to do tomorrow? You got to go meet with somebody, golf with somebody, and do it again.
Well, they just sent out an email from Utah State. They hired a lady, and it was right in there. Her job is NIL. So, yeah, all these things matter. The players will and the coaches will downplay it. I get it. That's standard. It doesn't mean nothing. Blah, 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 blah. Well, yeah, but, I mean, to the perception of the program, it matters. And it's better to stay in the ranking all year all season.
Well, under the theory of selling, the sports information will be, they're the one of 3 schools that's been ranked every week in the last 3 years, or whatever
Right.
streak or stat they can come up with. It's something else to sell.
And recruiting is ongoing, especially now with the earlier signing period. That the February thing is leftovers now. Used to be the big thing, and you had a big parade basically. But that is, they don't have big announcements now because it's usually you're preparing for something in December.
Yeah. But there's all of that.
Kids commit.
That's all happening. But then you've also got the transfer portal, and we've heard multiple coaches complaining about tampering during the season. So, even if it's during the season, it's an early poll and it's going to change in a couple weeks. If this is when you're going through some third party or doing whatever stuff you do to get a hold of people, well, where you're ranked then gives you something to sell then. Hey, we're 5-0 and we're ranked 8th, and you ought to think about playing here next year.
Plus, I think it's a show of respect for Utah that they're ranked at all. With all the changes.
With all the
that
change,
they've had.
yeah.
Yeah.
By all the change, Kyle, and Kyle. He was the face and voice of the program for a couple of decades, and he's gone. And we've seen plenty of these coaching changes where it's hard.
Losing
It's
all
just
5
difficult.
offensive linemen.
Yeah.
Losing
The
other
offensive
players,
coordinator.
Losing your sack specialist. Using a strong defensive back who played some receiver and did a lot of different things for you. That's gone. He's gone, obviously. So I think that's a sign of respect.
Lloyd says, I'm a Utah man, but with a new coach, don't rank us till we start winning. BYU sounds about right, but nothing means anything until the end of the season.
Well, it means more at the end of the season. But as we just articulated, I think it does matter.
And when you start behind or off the radar or whatever, then you got to hop teams, and you can't hop teams just based on your winning. You usually hop teams based on them losing also. So it is a little easier if you start a little higher. It's a simpler deal.
Yeah.
And it's not that you can't jump up, and Indiana just did it last year. So certainly it can be done. But
they were in the playoff the year before.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that what you're trying to do is make sure as a baseline you get an at-large berth. Obviously, if you win it all, you don't have to worry about any of that. But what you're trying to do is to position yourself to get an at-large berth if you don't win that game. And then here in a short order, not now, obviously, but in the next X amount of seasons, we're going to do away with the conference title games, and they're all going to be some form of at-large. See what kind of system they
cook up.
They create on that, and maybe conference winners then become the automatic bids. Whoever that might be, at least with the Power Four, as far as that goes. I can see them doing that, and that would make sense, because what you don't want is that the regular season becomes so devalued. You've got to have some kind of incentive.
There's got to be some juice.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're the NBA playing Game 12 and everybody's watching football figuring, we'll figure you out later. It doesn't really matter.
Right. And, they can come up with a system. I don't know that necessarily you would have the top 4 seeds, but you're guaranteed a home game or 2 home games or whatever they do if you win your conference. There's got to be something for playing a 9-game season and be the last team standing. Because if there isn't, what's the point?
What are we doing here?
Then don't even have conferences for that matter. Just whatever.
Okay, but see that, and that will get said, so I don't totally dismiss it. I just can't buy it because there was a time when we were really young, either getting started in the business or we were still in school and we were fans, where most of the Eastern teams were independent. And there was no league there. And now you get decades later, and football's not as big a deal there, and those teams aren't as good. And I just think a conference would have benefited them. It would have benefited their fan bases. It would have benefited their programs.
I know. I mean, I'm just going an extreme example. But there's got to be weight in the season. It has to mean something rather than just look. I can recall there's a few years back, and the U of A's playing, they're hosting ASU. And, they have the far better program, right? Well, Hurley had a couple of decent teams, and this was one year. And it was towards the latter part of the season. And the Devils are down by 2. And the Cats, they could have missed a free throw. Mm-hmm. And then in the scramble, the time runs out, right? Mm-hmm. Well, they don't. And they make the free throw so they can inbound it, and they're now up by 2, and they throw the ball to the kid in front of the U of A bench, and the kid, I don't remember who he was, he chucks it, and it goes in.
I remember that.
Right?
Yeah.
And the coaches on the U of A start arguing with each other. You could see it, right? Because the shot maker is right in front of their bench to begin with, and you could hear him, that's why I told you. And I'm thinking, who cares? It doesn't matter. You're going to the tournament. Your season is going to be determined on what you do going. They lost that game, but it was a fun moment, and they dogpile, blah, blah, blah. But really, what did it matter? It didn't matter.
In a weird way, good coaches, and Majerus would have done this. It's like, now I got something to hold over him. Because Arizona's always really good.
Right. And they were going to go.
He's right. It's kind of like, guys, here's a late game situation, missed it up. And Majerus was the king of always time and score. Time and score.
It was
What's the situation?
a lot of it was coaching.
Yeah.
That they should have intentionally missed a free throw because then, then there's a scramble with a bunch of 7-footers and you don't get a clean shot out and the kid chucks it in.
And that's the last moment.
55
and
feet.
They can absolutely rehash that and second guess themselves. But the beauty or problem with basketball is that means there's like 40 possessions you need to go over.
Yeah. And so I don't want to see that. I remember watching that game thinking.
But you don't want that in football. Where you have some dramatic game the first Saturday in November and you're just like, yeah, so what?
Right.
It's essentially an exhibition.
Right.
Both these teams are going.
Right.
Which is a risk in the Big 12 or in the Big 10 when you see Ohio State and Indiana and Oregon. I'm like, do you really think they're going to miss the playoffs? Is Ohio State going to miss the playoffs?
We had that in the conference title game. I can recall being down there. The Big 12 game was in the morning, and there was a Chili's right next to me within walking distance of my hotel, and I had it all planned out. I was going to order a ton of junk food and sit on that bed, not worry if the crumbs got on the bed, because I'm in a hotel, and I was going to watch that game, Indiana versus Ohio State. There's nothing else for me to do. I'm alone. And root my butt off for Indiana. But then I'm also thinking, it really doesn't matter.
They're both going to the playoffs.
Yeah.
I watched that. I was at work, and I watched it with the exact same.
Whereas the game this morning, everything was on the line.
Yeah.
For BYU.
Winning, you're in. Losing, you're out.
Yeah.
As opposed to Ohio State and Indiana, you get a trophy, and then you go home, and then you get ready for your playoff game.
But they got to put some weight in, if they do away with the conference title games, they got to put some weight into the regular season. And if you don't, then make sure that you're ranked as high as you could possibly be and stay in the ranking. BYU has an opportunity to stay in the ranking. And really, they should be ranked where they are ranked right now. And can they stay in the rest of the year?
They're essentially ranked right now where they've finished the last couple of years. And that goes back to your earlier point about who do you have back? Well, they got their coach. They got one of their two coordinators. They got the quarterback, right? They got to replace Jay Hill. So he's gone. So we haven't ranked them this high before, but this is where we finished, where they finished the last couple of years, and they're double digits for the last 6, so we're going to park them about 15.
Yeah, and then also, too, if you start and stumble, you have a better chance to stay and be on the minds of that playoff committee when they start meeting. Because they're going to look at that. And they can say they're not, but that's bullcrap. They are. So they're going to check that out. So you want that for BYU. If I would think that if they go into November, about the time we start getting the playoff ranking, if they have 2 losses, they're out. They have 1, they're in.
basically what you just described was Miami. They started last year at 10. They did have some stumbles. They lost to Louisville and SMU. They did have the marquee win early against Notre Dame to kind of justify, hey, we're number 10. Yeah, and look what we did. Notre Dame was actually ranked in front of them, so they were 6, I think, when they beat them. But there was a whole bunch of who cares games down the stretch. I mean, you got to win them because if you lose them, you get penalized, but you don't really get much for winning them. But because they started in a good spot and they had a nice win, they could handle a couple of stumbles. And if they'd started at 23, good luck with that. They'd been left out like they were a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
But they built it over a couple of years, got the better respect. They're number 10, and they slide in and get the last berth, and then they play great in the playoff and win 3 times and get to the final. So there's your model for starting in the middle of the rankings.
Right. And you want more. And go prove it out on the field. Start high and finish high.
That's nice. The other thing I found interesting in this was, we always say in the NBA, most years I can say, I'll pick 3 teams and you get the field. Who will pick the champion? And me getting to pick 3 teams first, I can usually pick the champion. Probably 7 or 8 times out of 10 in a decade. College football, 6 different teams got votes for number 1. Now, the recent history of the team that's ranked number 1 in the preseason actually winning the thing, it's not happening. But the 6 at the top, if I gave you the 6 or the field, I think I'd take the 6, and I think you would too. But Ohio State, Oregon, Georgia, Texas, Notre Dame, and Indiana are the 6 who got first place votes. Most of them went to Ohio State. They had 38. Texas only had 2. 5, 6, 7 for Oregon, Georgia, and Notre Dame.
I'm choosing Texas, I can tell.
That's just because you want to sing the song. Even though later on you're going to
Just
something
when
about,
I thought.
even though later on you're going to see something about Sarkisian winning big games. So you're not going to pick the Longhorns, but you will.
I'm
You will
choosing
take Texas.
He
Texas.
will always
Tech.
be an Ella fella.
I can tell.
Yeah. The next 6 teams: Miami, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, Alabama, Texas Tech. Like any of them to win the national title? Somebody didn't get a single preseason vote? I mean,
Go over them one more time.
Miami, number 7. A&M, number 8. Oklahoma, 9. Ole Miss, 10. Alabama, 11. Texas Tech, 12.
Oh, I think they all have a shot.
Would you drop down even further? Like the next 6 is LSU, USC, BYU, Michigan,
Oh my
Penn
gosh,
State,
LSU
Tennessee.
spending millions. Yeah.
So I was a little surprised to see them at 13 because of that. Yeah, because they've gone hard. They've raised a ton of money. They've spent a ton of money.
Yeah, and I have to admit, I'm gonna, not exactly pull out the pom poms for them. But yeah, I would think if you're spending all this cash, then for sure.
I mean, there's a lot of storylines we can follow in this next 6 here, which is, obviously LSU. We've been watching Lane Kiffin since he was at USC, and he's always got something to say. He's out there on social media.
Right, yeah. He's a lightning
USC,
rod.
obviously, you and I have followed USC
Well,
forever.
Lincoln
as a-
Riley's been
this,
talking about, we got through the heavy lifting, friggin' 5 years.
I know.
Suck.
In the transfer portal era, when everybody Signetti's remaking it in 2. What did you need 5 for?
Pete Carroll's sitting over there like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And his defense has never
And now
been
you can
close to
openly
good enough.
cheat, and it's not cheating.
It's not. You've obviously got BYU. We got a local in the group. We got Kyle Whittingham at Michigan in the group. Penn State. We followed Iowa State. Penn State was ranked top 3 in the preseason poll a year ago. Had the 3-game losing streak and fired their coach.
Which I thought was ridiculous.
Yeah, I get it. There's a long line of people right behind you agreeing with you, but nonetheless they did it. Now they're sitting at 17, and then Tennessee.
Fire him during the season, no less.
I find those. Yeah, he didn't even make it to the end of the year. Coming off a good playoff run the year before.
Right.
They've been in the semis. And
Right.
it's like, yeah, but they didn't beat. Oh, now it's like, how good are the playoff teams you beat?
I know,
You won a playoff game, but it's not good enough because of who you were playing.
I thought it was. That's the reality of the world.
But people writing checks at Penn State wanted it to happen. They wrote the checks to make him go away, and they wrote the
And I
checks
think
for
it's
new
sick.
staff to come in. It goes back to what you always say about why are these 50, 60, and 70 years old with all this cash
Yeah.
want to hang out with this 40-year-old coach and this 20-year-old player.
And I'm a sports guy, and I still think it's way over the
It's
top.
crazy. Somewhere in there is the champion. But where? My guess is it's in the top 6.
Well, I mean, that's a safe bet. I'll give you that. But that's the beauty of football. The ball can bounce either way, especially at the college level. They can do something stupid. And we'll be watching, man. As much as everybody says the game is screwed up and this and that,
we'll be watching.
We'll all be watching.
Yeah. Well, and don't forget the hate watching. I mean, you're not the only ones looking at LSU thinking, Lane. There's plenty of people who think Lane Kiffin's got a big mouth and they want to see him fail. And now the fact that he's at LSU and they've spent all this cash, that's just going to accelerate that. And Lane seems to thrive on it because he doesn't. Now he's finally starting.
He seeks it out.
He's finally saying, well, I've been told to get off social media, and I'm going to do less of it.
No, he's not.
He didn't say he wasn't going to do none of it.
He's not going to do less.
He's a tweaker.
He is.
I actually enjoy him.
Is he from Jersey?
Exactly. He is awesome at social media.
Right. He tweaks. He's funny in that way. Be yourself. You're always told to be yourself. That's who he is. So be it. I don't mind the guy.
Even when he was off the radar at FIU.
He took a bunch of crap last year for leaving, but the system set it up. He wanted the other job. The other job was better. And we keep blaming individuals. We want to blame the Dodgers. We want to blame Texas Tech. That's stupid. You got a bleeding body, so throw a Band-Aid on it. That's not going to change anything. You got to change the whole thing rather than use those as examples for sure, but then make the changes at the top level.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Stay tuned. Jay Drew coming up to talk BYU football.
3, 2, 1. This is Scotty G and Coach Tim LeCoe.
For Utah, it's offense and maybe defensive line, but primarily the offensive line. And so I'm like, okay, maybe I got to dig a little deeper here. But honestly, the more I kept looking at it, the more I kept thinking, it really comes down to those two position groups. Can Utah have offensive linemen that can step up?
I think the big question mark outside of the offensive line for Utah nationally is Morgan Scalley.
Yeah.
But nobody even talks about that around here because I think everybody has a real comfort factor with the way things looked in that bowl game, honestly. But the bottom line was they were sharp. They took advantage of opportunity more so than maybe a Whittingham team would. It felt like the guys were loose and ready to ball. That's like a sign. And then you hear all the stuff from the guys, how happy they are.
Catch Scotty G and Coach weekdays from 10 to 2. Presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5. The KSL Sports Zone. PK, we have a couple questions up here that are linked. Morgan Scalley on Monday was asked about this new ruling, the court decision in Colorado, the class of 2022 recruits getting a fifth season of eligibility. He said he'll explore any ways to help the Utes win. Should he bring back players who were seniors last season? And that also brings up the question, should players in the class of 2022 get another year of college eligibility? I mean, these two are linked. They're separate deals, but they're clearly linked. I think to the first question here, 2022, I was fine when it was 4 years to play 5. I adapted when it was you get 4 games. Okay, fine. That's good for the kids. What the heck, you're on the team. You're redshirting. You get to play a little bit. And then we see all these transfers at the end of the year, so suddenly, okay, bowl games don't count towards the 4. Because some dudes were having problems fielding position groups and literally had to pass on a bowl game because they didn't have enough O-linemen or whatever. So I've adapted all this change. I just don't see why they need a 5th year. I don't get it. Why the push for 5 for 5? And it's going to squeeze freshmen and sophomores. I mean, they're going to get caught in it.
Well, the other thing is they're doing away with red shirts, medical hardships. The whole idea is you get 5 years, and you get injured, you have an extra year essentially to work with in that.
I get it.
And if it's luck of the draw, if you play 5 years, you play 5 years.
I get all that. I just still don't think it's necessary. And I get their logic. I was fine with it the way it was. You like the class of 2022 getting another year?
Well, I think that Morgan should see if Cam Rising is healthy. See where he's at.
Hey, he's an offensive coordinator now. Why does he want to?
Right. Well, okay. Well, he can be offensive coordinator here, too.
Calls home plays. Drop him from the dirt.
Roger Staubach did.
If it's good enough for Roger.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah. As long as they stop and they don't have
6 for 6? 7 for 7?
Yeah, and they got this exception, that exception.
Well, they're going to have exceptions. There's exceptions.
But then don't.
For military service, there's exceptions for
that's not an
religious
exception.
missions.
That's not an exception.
You're talking more about the medical years and that kind of stuff.
Because all that means is some Mormon guys. Let's call it like it is. No one else is going, and they're not going to the military.
They're calling it the 3 M's: maternity, military, or missions.
Sure, for the women, that's another story.
Yeah, those are the 3 exemptions.
I got no problem for the women's because I think that's probably going to be a minority of young women, but so be it. The military deal. They send you to the prep school, and then you come back because they used it as a badge of honor. We don't redshirt. They kind of already did.
But your 19-year-old is playing this bonus year of kind of sort of high school football.
Yeah.
So
and that's it. And then you get your 4, and then you could transfer out and not have the military obligation. I think after 1 or 2, but then if you stay, you got the military obligation. So be it, and everybody recognizes that. And everyone's fine with that, I believe. The 5-year deal, if it allows them to be more of a human being, and what I mean by that is, and myself, I had to pay every penny of my own education. My parents gave me not 1 cent, and so that required me, I took out student loans, didn't pay them off till I was in my 30s, but I also had to work. Mm-hmm. So I was working 25 hours a week, right? And with that in mind, it was hard for me to take 16, 18 hours. And so we hear these kids, and the Devon Bailey story on the air, well, I wanted to do this construction management, or whatever it was, but I had to take these other classes because I needed to stay eligible, blah, 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 yada, yada.
He couldn't take engineering classes because he was busy playing football, which isn't you having to go to the park and turn the lights on and off, but nonetheless, there's a place he's got to be and the number of hours he's got to be in the football building, and it makes it hard to get the classwork done.
So if they could spread it out and they're making the progression towards the academic requirements and it takes them 5 years, I don't see anything wrong with that.
Right now, the coaches say, and Bronco said this, I think you were on vacation when he said it, but Bronco's like, well, all the kids are staying and working out all summer to get ready for the season, so they all take classes there.
Right,
so they take the lighter load and still get in the fall and still get done in 4 years.
Right, but maybe that makes it easier for them, and then you have more kids who graduate. Maybe not, but maybe so.
I think
and
under
if
this
that's a benefit and they get to play sports for another year, it doesn't hurt me.
No, who it hurts is they get the 5th year, so now the freshman classes are going to get
Okay,
smaller.
but the freshmen will get
No. They'll be
yes.
No.
Yes.
They'll have the 85 player roster spread out across 5 years.
It's not 85 anymore. It's 105.
It's 105.
They'll have the 105 spread out. Well, it used to be 85 and 20 for 105, and now it's 105.
Well, no, it used to be 123.
Yeah.
Okay, if you go way back, it used to be nothing.
Well, we don't want to go way back.
Yeah, but
we want to stay actually right now and look ahead.
Those 105 will be spread through 5 years instead of 4. So there'll be kids who don't get to play because somebody else is playing the 5th year. And even if you get to be on the team, you'll be standing.
I didn't get to play point guard at the U of U because Andre Miller was there. Okay, that's BS.
Guy.
There's plenty of other places you can go play.
And they'll all be playing 5th year guys too. It's going to squeeze.
But if you're better, this is not junior high where everybody gets a trophy.
Right. But you said it doesn't matter to me. Yeah, but it matters to somebody. It's not your year of eligibility or your opportunity to play that's being lost.
That's it. So just because you couldn't play that 1 year, that means you could never play again.
The size of all those classes is going to get cut down. And it's simple math, and you know it.
The sizes of all those classes. And so you're not good enough to play. Welcome to the real world.
Yeah, and in the next argument, you're saying I want more opportunities for more kids.
If they're good enough, this is not a right here. It's a privilege. You have to earn it. No one has a right to be on a team, and I don't care what you are and what your XYs are. None of that. No, there's not a right. You don't have a right to be on the high school team. You've got to be good enough. And if you're not good enough, find another place. Transfer to another school. Go work harder. All those types of things. Yeah, okay. There you go. That's reality. And you're going to find that in the next year in the 6th year when you go trying to find a job. And if you don't have the same last name as the company owner, it's going to be harder. Okay.
And that's all true when Arizona dropped junior college football,
And
which
it
you
sucked.
have lamented. Right. And this is the same deal. It's going to be fewer opportunities
life
for kids.
goes on.
It
I
does.
get it.
It went on with the other one, too.
Yeah. And so you got to find another thing to do. And maybe that makes you work harder. Yeah. And boy, wow, life's not fair. Who knew? Yeah, I get it. We're not giving out participation points here. So I don't have a problem with it. You don't get to play. I didn't get to play. I got cut in high school. I got cut. I literally got freaking cut. And my mother went in and said, either your brains or put my son on the team.
Godfather reference, people.
And 2 weeks later, they called me back. But it was a devastating blow. I got cut.
The line is actually, in 5 seconds, either your brain or your signature is going to be on the... No, it was signature and then brain. Yeah.
So, I mean, things happen like that. I mean, okay. But maybe you could find... That's the deal with the transfers, right? We see that... There's a guy sitting in there last week in your chair. We got 385-pounders coming in. They're 11 years old. And so somebody then's going to get stuck and not make the team.
Yep.
Well, where's your outrage on that? Go protest that today.
It's already happening. Left and right.
So it's the way it's always been.
Ryan says, no, I don't like it, but there are no rules anymore. It's an absolute disaster the way college sports is run.
And yet
we're going to sit down on Saturday and watch the games anyway.
And if your team wins, you're going to go crazy. And so I really don't want to hear it.
Brian says it doesn't really matter. There's no guidelines or real regulations or restrictions for players or for schools. They're all doing whatever they want anyway.
Until something is done to change the bigger problem, and we're going to hear this year some fan is going to act crazy at an NBA game, and the fan's going to be drunk. Oh, we got to stop this fan. Meanwhile, here's your $17, $18, $19 beer. And you can only buy 2, but you bring the honey, and then you walk back with 4.
All right.
And then you go back again and again. Oh, and let's cut it off in the 7th inning or at the end of the 3rd quarter. That'll solve everything. No, you want to solve the darn problem, don't sell it in the first place. But they're not going to do it because they're making money. I don't want to hear it.
So how does that relate to the 5th year of college football?
Because it helps them get more money. And they get better players. They won't go to the NFL because they can
make more money in
the college game.
Yeah.
I already saw somebody. I think it was there was a foreign kid from Iowa State, Milovich or something like that, and he went. Did he go to? I think he's gone to Kentucky. Check this out.
Yeah.
And they said I saw a thing.
Yeah.
He wasn't going to be a high pick. He could have gone in the first round, maybe. But they said by going to Kentucky, he's going to make more money. So
I literally saw a comment, and I don't know exactly what he gets paid, and I think they're going off other stories on other players. But why go to the NBA and make $500,000 when you can go back to college and make $5 million?
And you're going to get way more PT.
Yeah.
And people are going to cheer for you. Yeah. And blah, 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 blah. You're going to be big man on campus.
Don't want to be the 15th guy at the end of the bench. Or the two-way guy in the
you got to
G
go
League.
buy him donuts and do all that stuff. So I don't think the NCAA is saying, "Oh, we're going to be benevolent here." I don't trust anybody. What is your money motivation? Because that's usually the reason why you do things.
Dan doesn't like it. He says the line has to be drawn somewhere. It's time for the madness of super seniors to end.
But I'm fine with that too. I was just looking for potential benefits for the, quote, student athlete. Yeah. And I related it to me because it would have been I could have done it, but it would have been a lot harder because I had to work 25 hours a week. Mm-hmm. And it was a 45-minute drive from where I worked back and forth, that it was easier if I spread it out. Of course, I ran out of money, and I didn't know what I was going to do that 5th year. And there's a reason why I will always be loyal to my deceased brother-in-law and my sister, because they paid for the freaking tuition.
Oh, so you did get some help at the end. They stepped in.
But I had to pay it back.
And then you had to pay them back. Yeah.
But you got paying ahead of time.
Yeah.
And then
But better to get a loan from them than from the government.
I couldn't anymore.
You maxed it out.
Yeah. I'd already. You couldn't get
it for the 5th year.
right.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what I was going to do. My parents would have given me the money, but they didn't.
Have
any
it,
money.
right? Yeah. But they stepped in and they were.
And my
bridged.
sister and her husband were 2 college age. They were younger.
Yeah.
They paid for it, and I made the payments. And then on my birthday, they forgave the rest.
There you go.
Yeah.
And look at you now, baby.
And I credit them to a large. I've told you that to a large degree.
Well,
as
not
to
just
why I'm here.
not just for that, but for mentoring you and pushing you. You know, I don't know what I did. We know what you're going to do. You're going to go
100%.
to. You're going to go to college.
Yeah.
You know, no, you're going to go back to college.
Yeah, I would call it a violent shove.
Well, you know, they were in Arizona, but they had the Jersey roots, so you know.
Yeah, including picking me up because I had dilly-dallied, taking me to the bank to sign the papers for the loan. Coming to my parents'
They
house.
had you by the collar of the shirt.
Picked me up,
They had you by the collar
placed
of
me in the
shirt.
car, took me to, for all those of you from Phoenix, the bank was at Metro Center, which was a huge mall at the time, and it's gone away, but that's where the bank was. And we had to do it there. Yeah. So, yeah. And I just thought my initial reaction was maybe it's better. I wasn't even thinking football or sports-wise. I was thinking my own situation. Did it make it better so these people then can have a life in the meantime and spread? I'm trying to think of academics, which may be Pollyannish and idiocy of me doing that.
We can drop the word may.
Yeah.
Because if they have more time, they're just going to be expected to spend more time in the football facility.
You're probably right.
Right. But I'm with you. I was at the end of 4 years because I spent so much time doing college radio, which was a volunteer thing. But, you know, build the resume, and it's how I got internships, and it's how I got a part-time job when I was still in school and got my foot in the door to get hired. Between that and having to work to pay for the portion of college I paid for, I was 5 classes short of graduating after 4 years. So I had to finish up those last 5 classes in a 5th year.
I don't think that it needs. It's not something that I think they deserve or we must do it. We must right this wrong. But I can live with it as long as it's 5 and there's not any exceptions.
I think the real push for them is I think they're just sick of litigating the bonus year or years. They're sick of litigating the 5th year. They're sick of – I think the coaches are like, we have injuries. We don't have a waiver wire. We need to play this guy a 5th game. Why should that be the game that costs him the year? You know, move the bag back at first base. And then we've seen guys get 6th. And in some cases, there was a USC what was the guy's name? USC transfer running back who went to Utah, who I think came back for his 7th year because he kept getting hurt.
Was it Stowers? Ray Stowers?
Ray sounds right. I don't know if the last name was right.
I don't know.
It was like 15 years ago.
There's a guy at Montana this year who's playing a 9th year. He's a former USC player in his own right who's playing a 9th year of football because he's had 5 season-ending injuries.
And I think they're sick of litigating all that. I think that's driving the 5th.
That's why this is what.
That's really what's doing it. It's like, man, we're getting lost in the details here. Just give them the 5th year.
And so be it. If they think that it really must be, I don't know. Yeah, Ray Stowers. How about
It is
this?
Ray.
Received the 6th year at the U after being granted a medical hardship extension by the NCAA. And he gained in 2009, he had 3 carries for 12 yards on the season, and they all came against the Aztecs.
Yeah.
But I don't know that he went to SC. I don't know why I came up with that name.
Way to pull one out of the sky there. That was something. All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jay Drew's here at 9 o'clock. Stay with us.
They've been doing it for a while.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
I think the Jazz want to make the playoffs this year, and they really have no motivation for not making the playoffs this year because their draft pick goes to the Memphis Grizzlies in the Jaren Jackson Jr. trade. How motivated are the Jazz actually going to feel to maximize the win total of this roster using all the assets available to them to get there? My guess is it's actually not as high as fans would think because they don't have to do anything exactly right.
The truth is they are dedicated to it. But that doesn't mean they have to do anything about it right now.
Sure.
But no, not one person in that building, if you went up to them and said, hey, is the Bosnian Beak your answer at center? Not one of them is going to say yes.
Right. Or Jackson Hayes.
Or any of that. No, they're not.
Yeah.
So, yes, they do need to address the problem, for sure. Do they need to address it right now?
I don't think so.
Absolutely not. No, why would they?
Catch Jake and Ben afternoons from 2 to 6 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's a Win Tickets Wednesday. Caller 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. Wins a pair of tickets to watch the Black Crows with special guest Whiskey Myers at Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater on August 13th. Call right now. Yak's ready to go. All right, PK, we were just talking about 5 for 5, and we can talk about all we want. They're going to do what they want, and I suspect they're going to do the 5 for 5, and that 5 years from now we'll be thinking that this is the new normal, and we won't even be talking about it. That's my guess on how this will play out. But, man, the way college football is going, you never really know because it changes all the time. But what it does mean in the short run, whatever it turns out to be 4 or 5 years down the line, how does it impact teams now? Morgan Scalley was asked about this. He said he would explore any ways that help the Utes win. Should he bring back players who were seniors last season? I think the answer is clear, quick, and to the point, if it helps them win. He did say he probably has 1 or 2 roster spots for those guys. So if you're wondering how many guys he'll bring back and what that would look like, I would start right there. Dan says it's not up to him. The NCAA says they're out of eligibility. Scalley can't override that. If the court battles go in the class of 2022's favor, it looks like they can't enter the portal and would have to return to the last school they were at, which may no longer have a scholarship available. So this could be a pretty narrow window for guys to take advantage of this decision. Yeah. But he's got a spot or 2. That's Ford Scalley's words. We'll see what they do. Take a look at there's a big question here, like who's interested, who wants in on this? A lot of the NIL money is, at some schools, it's got to be committed. Maybe they can scrape together something for them.
Yeah, I would like to think in this situation that there's not very many that these guys are interested in getting on with their lives. There comes a time that you have to move on.
And have you been working out?
And they've already mentally moved on. And some of them are trying to make the NFL. That becomes interesting. Are we going to have a situation where they spend all of August and half of July in a camp, get cut, and then show up on a college roster?
I'm back.
That just seems a little silly, but what do I know? That they wouldn't do that. That they'd want to get on, and hopefully they've set themselves up educationally, and made enough contacts, because that's what these guys and gals should really be doing, making the contacts in the business world, in the private sector, to be able to go down the road to find yourself employed in a situation that you want to be employed in. Take advantage of that and the relationships and the contacts that you were able to make in the community. That, to me, that's where the tragedy comes in. If these guys, and I use the general neutral term here, guys, that when they're done and they're not good enough to play professionally, that they don't have anything to do. After you've been afforded this golden opportunity, and you literally not only do not have no debt, you have money that you should have been using wisely. And if you blow all that, that's a shame.
There's probably multiple people I should be citing now. I just don't know everybody's stories off the top of my head, but the one that really sticks with me, because it happened when I first got here, and one way or another we keep bumping into each other, it's Sharif Shah. And he was a really good player. He passed out on camera doing a post-game interview, had major health concerns, had to stop playing, but all the boxes you're talking about checking, he checked them. He checked the education. He got a job as a lawyer. He stayed connected to the football program, so I knew him when he was a sideline reporter. And he had a relationship with Kyle Whittingham, and they stayed in touch, and Whittingham recruited him multiple times. Come be a coach, you'd be really good. He said no multiple times. He was doing the legal thing and progressing different firms, and his legal career was going great. And then Kyle said, you really be good. We're going to the Pac-12. I'm not going to keep asking you. This is the last time. And decided to take the jump. And look how it's worked out for him now over more than a decade. That's like the dream story right there. He checked multiple boxes, cashed in multiple ways, even though the playing career did not go. And he wanted to go play in the NFL for a decade. And he was a good college player. He might have been able to pull it off. But when he couldn't, he was able to pivot. You know, the health didn't allow him to do it. So pivot and go. And he did.
Right.
And he's still riding it now.
But I don't have any problem with what Scally said there. You're looking for ways to make your team better. And if somebody can come in and replace Johnny, sucks for Johnny. But those guys are paid to win games.
I think the guy everybody's wondering about is Naquari Rogers, who has played 4 years. He was on the team last year, so he could come back. He doesn't have to be in the transfer portal. What does he want to do? What is he in shape to do? I don't think anybody's in the media has heard directly from him. So we'll see how that plays out. And there's might be some other guys, but that's the one that jumps to the front of the brain right there. Give him a little more depth in the running back room. Ran for 387 yards and 11 scores last year. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. When we come back, BYU football, opening day today. Jay Drew, covering the team for the Deseret News, joins us next. Stay with us.
Meet Keith, loving dad, board game champ, bus driving pro.
I drive 65,000 miles in my bus each year. If people knew what I know, lives could be saved. Like how there are some things I simply can't see. On my route the other day, a car tried to sneak past me and ends up right in my blind spot. I turned slowly, so accident avoided. But no car should be in the blind spot for a 40,000-pound bus. It's our roads. It's our safety.
Visit www.sharetheroadsafely.gov.